Ancient ruins are more than just crumbling stones and faded carvings. Some of them are death zones, others hold lethal curses, and a few are so venomous that stepping inside could end your joyful life. Archaeologists have uncovered sites where priestly rituals suffocated victims, tombs were sealed with poison, and entire cities were wiped out in seconds. Some places are so dangerous, they're still off limits today. So, if you thought history was all about dusty relics and forgotten kings or queens, well, just update your knowledge because you really need that. After watching these 15 ancient ruins, you'll realize that some secrets are best to be left undisturbed. Number 15. Ploutonion at Hierapolis, Turkey. Ancient Romans didn't mess around when it came to death gods. They built entire temples dedicated to Pluto, ruler of the underworld, and the Ploutonion in Hierapolis was considered a literal gateway to hell. This wasn't just some spooky myth. People died here. At the entrance of the temple, thick volcanic gases seeped from the earth, suffocating anything that got too close. Ancient priests would lead animals into the temple as offerings, and within seconds, they'd collapse, twitch, and die. The priests, somehow, walked away unharmed because they knew that staying low to the ground kept them safe from the rising CO2 fumes. Even modern scientists have confirmed that the Ploutonion is still lethal. In 2011, researchers found that carbon dioxide levels inside the temple were so high they could kill a person within minutes. If you ever visit, hold your breath. Number 14. The tunnels of Mitla, Mexico. Deep beneath the ruins of Mitla, Mexico, lies something that even the Zapotec people feared. A maze of underground tunnels that, according to legend, led straight to the underworld. And when archaeologists recently used ground-penetrating radar to explore them, the results were terrifying. Beneath the Church of San Pablo, they discovered sealed passageways and massive burial chambers that had been hidden for centuries. Some of these chambers are so deep, over 100 feet underground, that there's almost no oxygen down there. The Zapotec people believed that Mitla was a literal portal between life and death. And honestly, they might not have been wrong. Scientists who've attempted to explore the tunnels have reported sudden breathing difficulties, dizziness, and strange sensations, as if something doesn't want them down there. So were these tunnels just a burial site? Or did the Zapotecs know something we don't? Either way, nobody's been brave enough to fully explore them yet, and that's probably for the best. Number 13. The Tomb of Cerberus, Italy. When archaeologists uncovered an ancient tomb in Italy, they were expecting the usual. Some faded inscriptions, maybe a few dusty relics. What did they find instead? A burial chamber covered in frescoes of Cerberus, the three-headed hellhound that guards the underworld. Locals took one look at it and said, "Nope." According to legend, the man buried here had insulted the gods, and his tomb was marked with Cerberus to keep his soul trapped forever. The weird part? People who entered the tomb started getting sick, and not just from dust. Some archaeologists reported intense dizziness, nausea, and even hallucinations. Scientists blamed ancient toxic mold, but locals whispered that the tomb was never meant to be opened. Even today, some refuse to go near it, saying the curse still lingers. Whether it's a legend or a very real death trap, this tomb might be one of the few places where it's better to let the dead rest in peace. Number 12. The Garden of the Fugitives, Pompeii. Everyone knows Mount Vesuvius destroyed Pompeii, but few people realize just how horrific that final moment was. In the Garden of the Fugitives, you'll find 13 plaster casts of people who died mid-run, frozen in the exact position they were when the eruption hit. The most terrifying part? These people didn't die from ash or lava. They were boiled alive. The heat from the pyroclastic surge was so intense, over 900 degrees Fahrenheit, that their blood instantly vaporized, causing their skulls to explode. Their bodies turned to stone-like statues in under a second. Today, their remains sit exactly as they were found, frozen in expressions of terror and pain. And with Vesuvius overdue for another eruption, Pompeii's deadly past might not stay in the past for much longer. Number 11. The Well of Sacrifice, Chichen Itza. The sacred cenote at Chichen Itza looks like a peaceful jungle pool, but this wasn't a place for swimming. It was a mass grave for human sacrifices. The Maya believed this cenote was a portal to the gods, and to keep them happy, they threw in live victims. Archaeologists have pulled hundreds of skeletons from the well, many showing signs of violent deaths before they were tossed in. And here's the real horror. If a person survived the fall, they weren't set free. Instead, they were hauled back up and killed another way. Modern divers who explore the cenote report a strange, suffocating energy, as if the souls of the sacrificed are still waiting beneath the surface. Some believe the Maya knew something we don't, and that this portal might still be open. Would you dare swim in it? Yeah, didn't think so. All right now, let's talk about Number 10. The Tomb of the Red Queen, Mexico. Deep in the ancient ruins of Palenque, Mexico, archaeologists stumbled upon something straight out of a nightmare, a tomb filled with toxic red powder. The remains inside belonged to a mysterious woman, now called the Red Queen, and her burial chamber was unlike any other. Her entire sarcophagus, body, and the surrounding walls were coated in cinnabar, a bright red mercury sulfide mineral that the Maya used for ritual burials. What they didn't know? Cinnabar is highly toxic. Over time, exposure can cause neurological damage, tremors, and even death. When researchers entered the tomb in 1994, they found themselves inhaling dangerous mercury vapors, unaware of the deadly trap the ancient Maya had left behind. Today, the tomb is tightly restricted, and even brief exposure requires protective gear. Some say the Red Queen's grave wasn't meant to be disturbed, and anyone who enters is risking far more than a history lesson. Number 9. The Catacombs of Paris. Beneath the streets of Paris lies a world few dare to enter, a labyrinth of tunnels lined with 6 million human skulls and bones. Originally limestone quarries, these passages became mass graves in the 18th century when overcrowded cemeteries forced the city to relocate its dead. Sounds creepy? It gets worse. The catacombs are so vast and disorienting that even trained explorers have gotten lost and never returned. In 2017, 2 teenagers wandered inside without a guide and were found 3 days later, barely alive. Some tunnels are so unstable that even whispers can trigger collapses, and then there's the legend of the lost footage. A camcorder was found abandoned in the catacombs, showing a man who suddenly panicked and ran deep into the tunnels, never to be seen again. You might be able to visit part of the catacombs but wander too far. You might never find your way back. Number 8. The Terracotta Army, China. When farmers in Xi'an, China, unearthed a strange clay statue in 1974, they had no idea they had just found one of the most dangerous tombs in history. Beneath the earth, archaeologists uncovered an 8,000-strong army of terracotta warriors, all guarding the still-sealed tomb of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. The emperor's burial site is laced with deadly traps. Ancient texts describe mechanical crossbows designed to fire on intruders, and a mercury river meant to represent the waterways of China. And it turns out that the mercury part is real. Scientists have detected highly toxic mercury levels in the soil around the tomb, suggesting that anyone who steps inside unprepared could be poisoned. The tomb itself remains untouched, not just because of the traps, but because archaeologists fear they don't have the technology to explore it without disturbing something deadly. If the stories are true, Qin Shi Huang's resting place is the last place anyone would want to enter. Number 7. The Tomb of Tutankhamun, Egypt. It's the most famous tomb in history, and its secrets may have come at a deadly cost. When Howard Carter opened King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, people believed he had uncovered a long-lost treasure. What they didn't expect? A series of mysterious deaths. Within years of the tomb's discovery, several key members of Carter's team had died under bizarre circumstances. The most famous case? Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the expedition, who died from a mosquito bite that somehow became infected and killed him. Newspapers went wild, calling it the curse of the pharaohs. Scientists today suggest that toxic mold or bacteria inside the sealed tomb may have played a role in these strange deaths. But locals still believe Tutankhamun's tomb was never meant to be opened, and those who disturb it will pay the price. Whether by curse or coincidence, many who entered never lived to tell the tale. Number 6. The Hypogeum of Hal-Saflieni, Malta. This prehistoric burial site in Malta is one of the oldest underground temples in the world, and one of the strangest. Discovered in 1902, the Hypogeum of Hal-Saflieni contains the remains of over 7,000 people, buried in a series of eerie, dimly lit chambers. But here's where things get creepy. Visitors and researchers have reported dizziness, nausea, and hallucinations inside the Hypogeum. Scientists have linked these symptoms to infrasound, a low-frequency vibration created by the temple's acoustics, which can mess with the human brain and cause strange sensory experiences. Even weirder? In the 1940s, a group of school children and their teacher vanished without a trace inside the tunnels. Search teams found no sign of them, and some claim they were trapped inside a hidden passageway that collapsed. Whatever the truth is, the Hypogeum is not just an ancient tomb. It's a psychological nightmare. Number 5. The Temple of the Feathered Serpent, Mexico. Deep beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent in Teotihuacan, Mexico, archaeologists made a shocking discovery: a tunnel filled with liquid mercury. That's right, this ancient site may have been designed as a deadly booby trap. The mercury, likely used in ritualistic ceremonies, is highly toxic and can cause madness, organ failure, and death with prolonged exposure. The temple itself is believed to be a royal burial site, but due to the dangers of excavating through pools of mercury, much of it remains unexplored. Some believe this mercury river was meant to represent the underworld, while others think it was left as a death trap for tomb robbers. Either way, stepping inside the tunnel without protection is a suicidal mistake. Even in modern times, some doors are better left closed. Number 4. The Black Pyramid of Dahshur, Egypt. Most pyramids are built to last forever. The Black Pyramid of Dahshur, though? It's a disaster waiting to happen. Built by Pharaoh Amenemhat III, this crumbling pyramid is so structurally unstable that even stepping inside could be deadly. Unlike the Great Pyramid of Giza, which was built with limestone blocks, the Black Pyramid was made of clay bricks, meaning it has been slowly collapsing under its own weight for thousands of years. Massive cracks run through its interior, and some corridors are so unstable they could cave in at any moment. Even the pharaoh's sarcophagus, deep inside the pyramid, wasn't safe. His burial chamber started sinking as soon as it was sealed. Today, the Black Pyramid is off-limits to tourists, and for good reason. Archaeologists say the entire structure could fully collapse at any time, turning it into a giant death trap of falling stone and suffocating debris. Step inside? Not unless you've got a death wish. Number 3. The Cursed Ruins of Poveglia Island, Italy. If hell had an island, it would be Poveglia. Sitting just off the coast of Venice, Italy, this abandoned island is so terrifying that locals refuse to step foot on it. Why? Because it's literally made of human remains. During the Black Plague, thousands of infected people were dragged to Poveglia and burned alive in mass pits. Later, in the 1800s, it became an insane asylum where patients were allegedly experimented on by a mad doctor. The doctor himself eventually jumped to his death from the hospital tower, claiming he was being haunted by the souls of his victims. Today, over 50% of Poveglia's soil is made of human ash, and visitors report hearing screams, seeing shadows, and feeling sudden sickness. Even ghost hunters refuse to stay overnight. Italy has banned public access to the island, but it's not just for preservation, it's because no one in their right mind wants to go there. Number 2. The ruins of Herculaneum, Italy. Everyone knows about Pompeii, but Herculaneum, the lesser-known victim of Mount Vesuvius's eruption in 79 AD, is even more terrifying. Unlike Pompeii, where people were buried under ash, Herculaneum's citizens were instantly vaporized by a 1,000-degree Fahrenheit pyroclastic surge. When archaeologists excavated the ruins, they found hundreds of skeletons huddled inside boathouses, trying to escape. But here's the truly horrifying part. The heat was so intense that their brains boiled and exploded inside their skulls, leaving cracked skulls with burnt remnants of brain matter inside. Unlike Pompeii's famous body casts, Herculaneum's victims are nothing but bones because their flesh was incinerated in under a second. Scientists say if Vesuvius erupts again, which it's overdue for, the next wave of destruction could be even worse. So, while the ruins are open to visitors, just remember, this was the site of one of the most painful deaths in human history. Number 1. The Pyramid of the Magician, Uxmal, Mexico. Deep in the Yucatan jungle sits the Pyramid of the Magician, one of Mexico's most mysterious and eerie ancient ruins. Unlike other pyramids, which are built in layers over time, this one has a strange oval shape, as if it wasn't built by human hands at all. According to Mayan legend, this pyramid was created in a single night by a mystical dwarf with supernatural powers. But what makes it truly creepy? People who visit often report feeling watched, as if the pyramid itself is observing them. Some archaeologists believe the site emits low-frequency vibrations, which can cause anxiety, dizziness, and paranoia. Others say it's just the way the structure is built, creating a natural sound phenomenon where whispers seem to follow you. Whether it's an ancient energy field or just a psychological trick, one thing's for sure. The Pyramid of the Magician doesn't just sit in the jungle. It feels like it's alive. If you have enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon in the next one.